Guys, welcome to the Caring for Creatures show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you for joining us on a Thursday. This show spotlights one of our favorite charities of all time. Caring for Creatures is Central Virginia's first no-kill animal sanctuary. Mary Birkholz is the founder of Caring for Creatures. She will join us in a mere matter of seconds. She launched this nonprofit more than 30 years ago in Fluvanna County. She is a sanctuary that offers a second, third, maybe a fourth shot at life for the most at-risk animals up and down the eastern seaboard. We love this nonprofit. We love her mission. We love Mary. And we have built a program that spotlights her efforts and her team's efforts and all the awesome stories that CFC truly embodies. Judah Wickower, you're the director. If you could go to the two-shot and welcome Mary to the show. Good afternoon, Mary.
Hello. Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
I'm great.
She got the premier parking spot on Downtown Mall in front of our studio.
I'm on a roll here.
She's on a roll.
Last week, I got a street parking place, and I'm 20 feet from the door today?
Yeah, maybe less.
So, hey, this is working. Yeah.
Mary's got the luck of the Irish today.
I do.
And we hope CFC, with the fundraisers we have going on, have the luck of the Irish.
Absolutely. Now, I know you all know about the In Honor of Tulip end of summer fundraiser that we're doing to sort of help us get through the challenging fundraising days of summer. And we have a very special addition to that fundraiser for today only. And what this morning we did, what came up at Caring for Creatures, is that our med staff told me yesterday that we were in need of replenishing our blood work slides, that we run our blood chemistries for the animals, because we probably have about a half a dozen animals at least needing dental work, and we always run blood work before that happens. So in order for us to order a dozen of those, which is the smallest package, we need $500. And I went, okay, that was an expense I wasn't exactly counting on this week, but okay. So I got with our Susan, our fundraiser Facebook person, and watching the fundraiser, and I said, look, let's, maybe today, if we can collect $500 today, that buys us those 12 blood work slides, and let's go for it. And so I gave her the names of some of the animals that were in need of their dentals being done and the blood work, and lo and behold, before I know it, I get a message that we've had someone step up, and if we can collect 500, they will match 500 today, making it 1,000, which was very exciting. And then in the car on the way here, I got another phone call. We've made the 500, and now the match person is upping it to 1,000.
Get out.
But yeah, just for today, though, just for today. And I'll have you know that the $500 blood work slides was not the only thing on the med order list.
Sure.
So there's another $200 or $300 of items that we're in need of right now. So if you can go to one of two places, thegivinggrid.com, and I'm thinking...
I'll pin the link in the comment section right now.
Okay, perfect. Or you can visit the Caring for Creatures website at caringforcreatures.org. And if you make a donation to our summer fundraiser, I believe on our website, it's designated by In Honor of Tulip. And whatever we collect today, we're hoping we can get another 500 before the end of today, because then that would be huge. That would be 1,000 plus the match.
We have the link,
exciting.
guys, on all the comment section of all the streams that you're watching right now. Help Caring for Creatures. Click the link in the Facebook comment section and donate. Save some lives for some animals and support Caring for Creatures.
So this will be really good because cats, and a couple of the cats, or even more than two, I guess, in need of dentals are those in our FIV positive area.
Right.
And it's not an unusual thing for cats with FIV to have gum and dental problems. So to keep them happy and feeling good, sometimes dentals are a need. And we also have two little bit older dogs on our list that are in need of dentals. So we would appreciate it. If you feel you're in a position to give us a little bit towards this match today, we'd be grateful.
You get
We'd
it to
be grateful.
1,000, we match the 1,000.
Absolutely.
This benefactor
Yes, exactly.
is matching 1,000.
Exactly.
This is big time.
So
Click
this
that
could
link
be
and
great.
please donate.
And will help a lot of our medical needs. That's where we started out, so that's where the 2,000 will go. If we can make it the whole thing today, that would be great. So, in addition to that, we have a really very good program. Well, all of Ashleigh's programs are good, but this is an important one related to kids and animals, kids and dogs. So hold on. I just want a couple more announcements, and we'll get to that. It's going to be a good show. We have some activities.
Yes.
Coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, right?
Tomorrow is Friday.
Bold Rock Hard Cider in Nelliesford.
Cool.
Barks in the Barn Yappy Hour is happening tomorrow. Live music, 4 to 9. CFC will be there with a couple of dogs. And in fact, the dog that we are featuring today, Elmer, is going to be one of the dogs. Elmer is a tripod, and he's going to be there with Dave the dog.
Dave the
Dave
dog.
the dog, yeah. So we all know Dave the dog.
Dave the dog needs a home.
He does. He's so perfect,
Yeah.
too. He was in a extreme sleepover thing, that heat wave week we had.
Yeah.
And he got rave reviews. Rave reviews.
Oh, there's Dave the
Yeah.
dog. He's on screen.
There he is. Oh, no, that's Elmer.
Oh, that's Elmer.
That's Elmer.
Okay, sorry, Judah. Thank you for putting Elmer on screen. Doesn't Dave the dog kind of look a little bit like Elmer?
Similar. He's
Yeah.
similar, yeah. He's a hound also. Slightly different coloring. But anyway, if you can get out to
Bold Rock.
Bold Rock Hard Cider in Nelliesford, we'd love to see you. And for each pint sold, by the way, we get $1.
Nice.
Is donated to us. This coming Sunday, the 18th, noon to 3, at Orvis at Stonefield. They are doing their dog days of summer. We love dogs.
Yeah.
Fun time. People are welcome to bring their dogs. We'll be there with a couple of dogs, and I think we'll have a couple other groups there. I'm not exactly sure who's scheduled on what day, but you can bring your dog. I think there's some freebies and refreshments for both you and your dog, so stop in on Sunday and see us. And on Monday, John Shaughnessy of Commonwealth and Chris Humphrey of Fellini's will be the dueling chefs. And I'm looking forward to that.
You're gonna be there?
I'm going to be there.
Nice.
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
or 8 p.m.
6.
Okay.
I'm going to be there early.
Are you going to talk?
And I'm going to talk.
Nice.
I'll shut up I won't talk too much, but so you can eat. But no, I'm kidding. But I think Diane is maybe joining me.
Diane White?
Yeah, Diane, who does Facebook and
Fantastic.
God knows 100,000 other things.
Dual Chef Showdown, Monday, Tin Whistle
Yep.
Irish Pub, John Shaughnessy, Commonwealth Sky Bar, Executive Chef.
Exactly.
Yes, Chris Humphrey of Fellini's. He's the Executive Chef and owner. 2 seating, 6 and 8 p.m. Proceeds, portion of the proceeds to Caring for Creatures. And tickets still available at
right.
dualchefshowdown.com.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very
Sure.
good. And now we have our featured animals.
Okay.
Elmer, which you may have seen.
Put Elmer back on there, JW.
Yeah. Elmer's probably about 6 to 8 years old.
Okay.
He came to us from a high kill facility, and he came to them. He was picked up alongside the road, stray, no ID, and there was something seriously wrong with one of his back legs, his left leg, and they ended up having to amputate his leg. And in addition to that, he tested positive for heartworm. So before they were going to be in a position of even attempting to do a lot of that, they needed a rescue for him. So we spoke up for Elmer, and Elmer's a lovely, lovely dog. He's typical hound, big long ears, a huge voice. He loves to sing and talk. So he's a neat guy, but you can meet him. He'll be on Sunday at Orvis also.
Okay.
So you can meet him there.
Elmer needs a home.
Yeah,
Come on now.
he does.
He's a man about
3
town.
legs,
Yeah.
but it doesn't stop him. And now I will introduce you to a litter of kittens.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do we got?
Great kittens. There are 6 of them. They're in our main office right now, and they go a little bit crazy.
That office must be humongous.
Yeah, not really.
It's crammed with animals.
It's crammed. A whole 6 kittens and 2 dogs most of the time. All right, these kittens were born the 27th of April.
Okay.
They're ready, to be signed up to go home. They get a lot of very special comments. People who have met this. You saw the litter the last time you were over. And wonderful kittens. They're beautiful. They're social. They love humans. They love each other. So I think they'll integrate nicely into anyone's home. I'll read out their names, and Judah can throw the pictures up if he has them.
He's ready.
Okay. Bia is a tabby. Jewel is black and white. Pedro, darker tabby, although you can't see his markings quite with that picture. He's beautiful. Tiago, Nigel. Nigel's full of himself. He's a little bit of a terror. But typical boy. Blue, solid black, absolutely gorgeous. So all of these kitties.
Same litter?
Same litter.
Wow.
Yeah. Mama had 6. And Mama is an amazing
These
cat.
are adorable.
Aren't they? They really are. They're crazy in person, too. They're fun to watch. They're real. I always think watching either puppies or kittens play, huge stress reliever.
Yeah? We talked about the kitten cam, the kitty cam.
I know. I still have to do that.
That would do really well.
It really would do well. That's on my list.
Okay.
I'll get that on my list.
Okay. So we should go, that's news and notes at Caring for Creatures. Oh, you're right.
So we do have a gift that I was proud to deliver to Jerry. Jackie Myers, who's been a guest on the show. We talked about her book. This is hot off the press.
Yes.
And
Still smells very new.
yeah, that is.
This is such a nice message she inscripted here. Jackie Myers of Peaceful Passings.
Right.
She's also an author. She's the founder of Peaceful Passing Senior Animal Rescue. It's a PhD.
She is.
She is the gift of gab. She is a ball of energy.
Absolutely.
She's one of the most positive people ever. She wrote this book.
Yeah.
And
great.
Mary dropped off from Jackie a copy. Jackie, thank you. Thank you.
It's nice. And Jackie, you made me cry. She did an inscription on my book, too.
Yeah?
That I got. Her husband delivered them this morning so I could bring yours. But I cannot wait to get in it. It looks beautiful. It feels good.
Did you get it today? Nice.
Yeah.
And this looks like this is the type of book that I feel like you can read in one sitting. You know?
You could, yeah. And, any book that's about animals, I usually can get through very quickly because I love reading them. So you can order Jackie's book. Hold on. I think it is at, mascotbooks.com.
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 I love it.
Up on the upper right, you'll see a search
Function.
space. Yeah. And just search for Loving an Older Dog. Or old dog, is it? Did I say that wrong?
Older.
Loving an Older Dog.
Yeah. And it brings it right up, and you can order it right there.
Beautiful.
Great gifts. Make great gifts.
I will read this myself, and we'll put it to the shelf of fame. And you did very succinct recap there.
Thank you.
Yes.
That was my intention.
We have half an hour for Ashleigh, an expert, undoubtedly. Let's go to the studio cam. We'll welcome Ashleigh Morris to the show. How are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you for coming on the show. Today's topic hits close to home for me. Dogs and babies.
Yes.
Talk to us, give us kind of like a snapshot, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty.
Sure, absolutely. It's definitely something that's one of my biggest pet peeves, honestly, is when people just allow their kids to do whatever they want to the dog and expect the dog to be respectful to the child. It just bugs me, and I've seen it. But my friend Heather always reminds me when I get upset about stuff like that, people do better when they know better.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to me to educate people, to teach them how to foster appropriate interactions between their dogs and their kids.
My little guy, why this is close to home, I mentioned this to Mary last week, is 16 months old, and we have 2 German Shepherds. And the German Shepherds are 100 pounds each, and they're teddy bears with Trey and good guardians of Trey. But sometimes, as dogs do, they get a little rambunctious over certain things, like going out. And when we say, let's go outside, they sprint for the door.
Yeah.
They sprinted to the door,
They can stampede. right
accidentally
over.
gave Trey a hip check, and he banged into the wall,
Yeah.
hit the corner, split his forehead. Now they do the glue, not the stitches.
Oh, yeah.
Got a scar. Mama Bear, who's watching right now, not a happy camper
No.
by any means.
No.
So I'm really looking forward to your advice, and you're the astronaut now of the spaceship, Ashleigh. Anywhere you want to go.
All right. Well, let's jump right into, Judah, please, picture number 1. Part of people knowing how to interact their children and their dogs is knowing some dog body language, knowing what your dog is saying. I've gotten phone calls over the years where my dog just bit out of the blue, and it's usually not out of the blue. As I start asking questions, I start hearing all sorts of signals that the dog was trying to give that nobody was listening to, and then they went for the bite because they felt they were not being heard, and so they had to do something to make this torture stop, because in their eyes it's torture. So number 1, it shows you very clearly. Excellent choice of photographs, Mary. And it even has it labeled, so I really don't have to do a whole lot of talking.
They
You guys
may
can
not be
read.
able to read that.
Oh,
I don't
okay,
know.
It's
The picture was a little small,
Yeah.
so you might have to point out
Yes.
the words.
So number 1, the top writing says submissive eye closure. And also important to see is that the dog's head is turned away from the person to
Right.
avoid direct contact. Lip licking is a sure sign of stress.
Don't know.
It helps the dog try to calm itself down. Now, remembering you have to take all of this into account as a whole. Sometimes your dog is just licking their lips
Right.
because they
Yeah.
woke up and they're getting their mouth, their
Right.
saliva going again or whatever. So sometimes they're licking their lips and they're not stressed, but it is definitely a stress signal that your dog is trying to calm themselves down. Also, excessive yawning is the dog trying to calm themselves down. It's trying to get back down to a calm level. It says also head turned to avoid eye contact, and then ears down. The ears are placed at a level that show this dog is not sure about this. And so it's giving all of this body language to this person to say, I'm really uncomfortable with this situation. I don't like it. And the person is grinning like this is a cool picture and
Right.
not getting anything
Yeah.
of what the dog is saying to them. So watching interactions between your dog and your child. And really, rule number 1 for me is do not allow kids and dogs to be unsupervised.
Right.
It's just
Exactly. It's so
not
logical.
a good
Yeah.
idea. Even if you have just an amazing, fantastic dog. I mean, just like you said,
Yeah.
your dogs did not mean to hurt your child. It wasn't aggression or any sort of bad behavior. It was just excitement, and they're so big, your kid got in the way and got hurt.
And you want to, and
because-
this really puts it in perspective. The baby
Oh,
gates
thank
that
you.
you, Judah. We were using baby
Thank you.
gates, and and it's like we're really extremely mindful. The one time,
Of course.
or
of
like,
course.
let's go outside.
Yeah.
Literally the one time they're interacting, he got knocked into the wall. I mean, it's just like, it was like bad luck. And they didn't mean to, but
Right,
it still
exactly.
happened.
Exactly. And so, when I suggest that, it's not always because, well, your dog might get aggressive and bite. It's because, they might get overly playful. And especially if you have a large dog, the kid can get hurt through no fault of the dog, but then your kid is still hurt, and
Right.
that sucks.
Right.
And Mama Bear's mad.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No, not good at all. So
Trust me.
it's using, I would say, common sense, but some people don't think of it if you don't, necessarily work with dogs or whatever. But to me, it's kind of commonsensical that you would not put your child in a situation that might have them put in a place of danger. And like I said, your dog can certainly hurt your child without meaning to.
Right.
Just because you don't have a dog who's ever shown any aggression doesn't mean that something couldn't happen out of the way. So supervision is key.
My question, would they be able to teach their shepherds? Shepherds are pretty quick learners. Is it possible to teach a shepherd a boundary around the child?
Sure.
That they know they put the brakes on when they're within 3 feet or 2 feet? I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know that you want the dogs to feel like
Right,
we can't
right.
interact. So I don't know if that's possible or
It is, or you could come up
preferable
with
or-
all sorts of different varying things that are right along those lines. And when I go into work with families and homes, we come up with what's going to be a realistic solution for this particular family, because again, they're all different. But I think you touched on something really wise in that, knowing this is going to be something where we need to start teaching these dogs some stuff. Because to me, it's not just teaching the kids how to interact with the dogs, but we have to teach the dogs interactions with the kids as well. Really, like if you have a little guy, so you're
16 months.
You're a little bit limited in the things that you can do with him. But I mean, you can do things like have him in front of you, and you ask Max and Leo for commands.
Good memory.
And that's how I do, they're dogs. You have your child be the one who gives the treat. And so it's as if he's the one asking, because training in and of itself is a leadership builder. It is bonding, and it teaches the dogs that you're a good leader to follow. And so if you kind of superimpose your child to be the one who's doing it, even though you're the one, standing behind him, you're the one who's really doing it. It looks to the dog as if the child is doing it. If you have older children, I very much encourage kids who are old enough and mature enough to be doing the training, again, at a certain age under the adult supervision. But once they get, teenage years, I guess it all varies based on individual, having that person do some working with the dog as well. Teaching them how to positively interact with the dogs. And I mean, I've had some kids come through my classes before where I've been like, please give the leash to the kid, because the kid just had a natural ability that the adults didn't have. So, just because kids are young doesn't mean that they can't learn how to appropriately interact with dogs. They can learn to read body language. And I think that's part of it, again, is, oh, look, Fluffy is looking kind of nervous. I think you should back up and we should give Fluffy some space. So teaching just small little teachable moments like that. But in order to do that, the adult has to be aware of what the dog is saying. They have to notice that, oh no, he's got the whale eye. That's a funny label. I think it's a funny thing where the dog is looking away and you can see the whites of their eyes. They're saying, I'm really stressed out here. Dogs can't speak up and say, hey, can you please get this kid to knock it off? He's really getting on my nerves. So they start to use a lot of body language. And like I said, if they're not listened to, then they can start to growl or snap or things like that. Not always. Some dogs are just so stoic and just take it. But then it's the quote-unquote bad dogs that make a reaction, and that always just bugs me. This is not a bad dog. This is a dog who's been really trying to give you guys information that you just have totally ignored.
Ears down and canine stress sign picture 2. Tell us about that, because that's one I feel like is quite obvious.
Yeah. It is kind of obvious. I really think that often people could get what their dogs are saying to them without being, a professional. Personally, and maybe I'm just looking through eyes of having done this kind of, work for years and years, but I would think that even when I were, younger, before I even became a trainer, that I would be able to look and say, oh, this dog doesn't look that happy.
Doesn't look real happy.
Yeah. Again, you have the head turned away. You have the half moon eyes. Also, you can call that whale eye. Well, that's not full on whale eye because it would be looking the other way, but it's getting to whale eye where the eyes are going completely in the opposite direction. You can see the whites. The ears down, it's like kind of pinned towards the head. That says, I am not at all happy. And the body's kind of stiff. It's not like relaxed, kind of going into the girl for the hug.
Tense.
Yeah, it's a stiff
almost
body.
Leaning away from.
Exactly. I want to get away from this. And the little girl is blissfully unaware, smiling and hugging. And here's the thing. And again, like I always like to preface on the show when I'm talking about stuff like this, there are exceptions to every rule. Sure. So please
You're talking dog-wise.
To everything in life, I think. But dog-wise, for sure. Most dogs don't like hugs. And I know some dogs have learned, their people have interacted with them and made it a positive thing. But for the most part, hugging is a human phenomenon.
And most dogs don't like big dogs, especially to get picked up.
Not at all.
And how many shepherds like to have their hips touched?
Right.
Yeah.
Not that much.
No.
Yeah.
Or feet or anything for that matter.
Yeah, a lot of dogs can be very foot sensitive, for sure.
Yeah.
How about this one is extremely hitting close to home, number 3.
Yeah.
And absolutely terrifying. And I'm scared for this baby. And
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
What do you see there?
Well, you're exactly right. Being afraid for the baby because the dog you've got the big lip lick in number one. You have ears down. You can see the whites of the eyes on the side. It's like looking at the kid like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Happening?
Yeah. Then we have in the second picture next to it, you can we're getting real close to whale eye. We see the tongue again. The dog is physically turned away from the child, like, please knock it off. Then the third picture, it's pretty much the same thing as we already talked about, except that the dog is less whale eye and just has the mouth open.
But the baby's has his face pressed on the dog.
Right.
The only good thing about these 4 images is there seems to be a parent right there.
Yes, right.
There is.
Except that I will point out to you all that people are not nearly as fast as dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
So if that dog decided to reach around and do a snap, there's no way in the world that parent is
quick.
fast enough to scoop that baby back before that dog could make contact.
Yeah.
And the dog is saying, I'm super uncomfortable, please stop. And then the last one, the dog is just kind of eyes closed, head totally turned away. Like,
soon this may stop.
Yes.
I'll just try to ignore
maybe
it.
if I just endure it, it'll be over with soon. But that is definitely not a dog who is enjoying this interaction at all.
And one of the things I've seen with my son is, with our son, is he doesn't even know like his own strength.
Right.
And like what he's even doing. Like he may go in with a smile on his face to try to pet Leo or Max, but he's really like yanking their ear or pulling their fur or like poking them in the eye.
Bam,
I'm like,
bam,
son,
rubble.
what are you doing here? But he doesn't know what he's doing.
No, they don't.
Right.
They don't
Yeah.
understand.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's something where you do, like, sometimes you may even have to grab, you hold his hand and do petting. Oh,
That's what we do.
gentle
Yeah.
or easy or, whatever you want to do. Because, again, it's a two-way street. I'm teaching the child how to gently interact with the dog. And it's something where, at this time in life, it's small teachable moments. And then as he gets older, then you can teach him, more and more. And you can teach him how to interact with the dogs, have them, come to him and sit and do downs and stuff like that, fun stuff. But for now, you do have to kind of teach him that, oh, look how much Leo likes it when you pet him so gently and different things like that.
When you don't touch his hips.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And please don't touch his
Please
feet.
don't touch
Yes.
his feet. You say the feet is the worst spot for you?
Well, some
Is
some
this
dogs.
from Baron?
I've had. It was Baron.
Yeah.
When Baron was alive, someone made it's someone he was just meeting, and he was a little nervous Nelly about men, but he was really doing well. And the guy was petting him, but the guy made the really silly mistake. And
A stranger was touching
a
Baron
stranger.
for the first time?
Yeah, and he
Wow.
wasn't letting him. And I was, deep breathing because I
Right.
didn't want to send any message down the leash to
Right.
Baron that I
Yeah.
was watching every move. But the adult person, meaning well, of course, must have felt very, I don't know what, but he said, "Oh, do you shake?" And he went to grab his
Lord.
foot. And,
While he was standing?
Yeah.
What? That's so dumb.
And he
Sorry,
went
I
after. He went after him.
Yeah.
And
What'd you do, yank
we're
him back?
talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't make contact because
He was on the
I
leash.
said, "Sir," I said, "if I could say anything to you, please never again in your entire life do that to a dog you don't know."
Right.
Yeah.
And Baron in the beginning, and that was towards the beginning of when I had him, he was sensitive with his feet, and he wasn't always liking men. So we had a double whammy there, a new man and some man who was grabbing his foot. So
I don't, and this might be a bad thing. It's a bad thing. I don't even like when Leo or Max are out, especially Leo, like strangers coming up and petting him. You
I know. Yeah.
I don't
I
think
just-
that's bad.
it's
I think
not-
you're being a good
Yeah,
advocate
Yeah.
for your
just like
dog.
let's
Yeah.
let's not have anything happen here.
It's
know.
not what, when we're working with children and things,
Right.
they ask permission to
Yep.
pet a dog.
Absolutely.
And I have had children visit CFC, and they have been taught because they ask, "Is it okay to pet
what we
this
do.
dog?" And I go, "Thank
Because
you,
it's
God.
not
Thank you,
always.
parents,
Yeah.
for
Yes.
doing that."
And it's not bad to
Yeah.
say no. It's not.
No.
Yeah.
It is
Right?
not.
Yeah,
You're not being a
exactly.
jerk.
Right.
No.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I try to impart to people all the time that you are your dog's advocate. Max
Yeah.
and Leo cannot speak for themselves. They are counting on you and your wife to make sure that they are not put into situations that are uncomfortable
Right.
and not good for them.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well, thank you.
Yes, very well said. What are you seeing in picture number 4 here?
4. Very much very similar to the other ones, except this dog is not as stressed. We have a little bit of the whites of the eyes going on the side. We have a little bit of a lip lick, but this dog is not turned away. It's got a little stiffness, but it's not super stiff. And again, the boy is just in bliss.
Yeah.
My guess is these two, the boy and the dog, are probably good buddies.
Yeah.
And the dog is just kind of used to, I just suck it up for a second when he
Right.
wants to do this.
Yeah.
Because like I said, sometimes dogs can learn.
Yeah.
Well, I endure this thing that this person does. And some dogs can actually learn. Like I have seen dogs that have learned to enjoy hugs and they like it. But again, watching body language is key. As soon as you start to see something that's uncomfortable, and I just go back to the old golden rule thing. It really bugs me when people think that we should just be able to treat animals any way we want to. I want to treat them the way that I would want to be treated. I don't want some stranger rushing up and throwing their arms around me. That would make me very uncomfortable. And so I think it's really crazy to think that a dog should enjoy some person running up and just throwing their arms around them.
A completely
and
different
them.
species.
Right. And I have the ability to put my arms out and say, knock it off. Dogs don't have that. And so it's important for us, especially parents, if you're going to have, I was going to say if you're going to have your kids around dogs, but I'm going to rewind and say you need to teach them anyway, because your kids are probably going to come across, they might go to a friend's house who has a dog or something.
Totally.
So it's important to just give them basics. Mary found these images on Google, so pull it up, go over it with your kid. Hey, look, if you're around a dog and they turn away from you, turning away is pretty strong body language for I don't want to interact with you. And that's, my dog was the king of that, because he actually, when I first got him, none of my friends or family members had little kids, and it was before I decided to be a trainer, and so I didn't socialize him. At the time, I didn't know any better, and so I didn't socialize him with kids, and then all my friends started having kids, and he did not like kids. He did not like them at all. And so I had to, fortunately, my friend Laura was really, really a great mom, but not like uber freaked out that I was going to put her kid in a bad situation, so I used her daughter Hannah and as the bait. Not really. But my
She's
dog.
a saint.
But it was good, because then I was able to get him to be comfortable around kids, because this was a very precocious child. She was about 3 at the time. She followed instructions very well. I knew Riley's body language very well, and so if he started to get nervous, then okay, let's stop. And Hannah would come over to me, and Riley would go. So we got him to the point where he was better socialized with children. And so one of the big things, if you get a puppy, you want them having positive experiences with kids. And I say positive experiences, you don't want those kids that are going to be poking in the eye and pulling the tail and all that kind of stuff. You want the puppies to have a good experience with the kids, and the kids to have a good experience with the puppies. And it takes some doing on the adult's part. It takes, we don't do that. Gentle, good, gentle, different things like that.
And Judah, you'll get a kick out of this. Your dad, Jim Winkauer, is watching right now. Welcome to the show, Jim Winkauer. How about
number 5?
The baby or a kid with a puppy. Number 5.
Right.
When the kid's a puppy, or when the dog's a puppy and the kid's a kid, taking the food bowl out.
Right.
Do you recommend that when it's a puppy and less harm can happen? Because you certainly don't want to do it as an adult dog.
No, you don't. Honestly, I really don't have kids doing much of that, just because I don't want them to start to think that that's an okay thing to do. And this picture, if you guys can see the puppy's body, this puppy doesn't look stressed. The puppy's just like, I'm
Focus
eating.
on food.
I'm not really
And
worried
this was
about
more
it.
of a
Don't do this.
don't do it with more so adults who we may
Right.
not know are resource guarders until it's too late.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I do think it's important,
For a
have
child.
your kid like walk past, so the dog is used to the kids being, close by and stuff like that. But what I
a good
wouldn't
tip.
want to do is have this child start to think it's an okay thing. And the other thing is they can start to generalize that because it's okay to do this with my dog.
Right.
I go to my friend's house and I go up to their dog and hug them while they're eating, and that might not go over so well.
I have seen dogs that are the most timid, likable, easygoing dogs, and the only time they show any aggression is with food. Like they're
Yes.
food aggressive. And that's the only time. And it's like you said, they get territorial of their food, like, oh my gosh, this could be taken from me. I got to protect it, or I got to eat it immediately.
Exactly.
And then that's when I seen some snapping.
Yes, absolutely.
So this one hits close to home. This one, I think number 6. This dog clearly is like,
What's
what's
that?
going on
Oh, God,
here?
what's
That
going on
is-
behind
Save
me?
me. It's like
Yeah.
looking at its owner like, what are
What?
you doing?
Right. Yeah, and this dog, is that what do you think? That's a
Rottweiler.
Rottweiler,
Yeah,
it looks like,
Yeah. I mean, what are you seeing there, Ashleigh?
Oh, definitely. The dog is looking at the people like, please save me. I don't like this. And, it's not like over the top. It's not showing its teeth or anything. It's not aggressing, but it's definitely nervous.
It's already in a tough spot.
Right.
Because it's on its back.
Right.
Yeah.
And the kids are taking full advantage. Although, especially look at the little girl's face. She's in bliss. Like, oh,
Exactly.
I'm laying on you. This is so sweet. So, we have to teach our kids that just necessarily what we think as humans is good, dogs don't necessarily feel that the same things are good. And again, some dogs like to have their kids, lay on them. It's parents being very proactive, watching interactions, seeing what's okay with the dogs. If you see any signs of the dog is stressed, okay, kids, let's go over here and, interrupt, redirect the behavior. It works with kids too, as well as dogs. Number 7 is one where we don't really know if this dog is asleep or not, but it's definitely laying down, relaxing. And number 8, incidentally, is the dog is not asleep and the kid is laying on top of it. Neither one of these dogs looks stressed. I think it's because they are either sleeping or
Or they really know the
close
kid.
to.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or they really know the kid. That's
Yeah.
a really good point too, Jerry. But it makes me think of a story from the very early days of my training career where I got a call from this lady who they had taken on this stray dog who was a lab, probably hound mix. He showed up at their yard and they ended up keeping him. He was huge. And anyway, she was freaking out because the dog had bitten her child in the face, but she didn't think he was aggressive. Could I help her? Could I come evaluate? Well, I'm freaking out. Like, I don't know. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, what if I get it
you
wrong?
have some exposure too.
Right.
Some liability.
Yeah, exactly. And I went through all of that with her, and I really was thinking about passing her on to somebody else, and I was like, for some reason, I just had this gut feeling that you can do this, just do it. And so I told her, I can't guarantee you. Like, I can come over and I can evaluate the dog, and if I feel that the dog is aggressive, I will let you know. If I feel that the dog is not aggressive, then I can work with you on some tips so that we can get the dog better trained. And I'm a firm believer that part of living with dogs is training, part of living with dogs is management, and you've already caught on to that piece with your baby gates. And so I told her, no matter what we do, I cannot give you 100% guarantee that this dog will never bite again.
You can't
I
predict.
can't. Exactly. So anyway, I went over there. The dog was not aggressive at all. What happened was the dog was laying in the floor, and the 2-year-old child comes running across the floor. Well, the dog was asleep in the floor, not just laying in the floor. The dog is sleeping. The baby comes, 2 years old, jumps, launches itself onto the dog. The dog startles, turns around, and like catches the kid like right where the eye is.
Wow.
She required 2 stitches. This dog's head was like this big. He
Yeah.
was huge. If that dog had really bitten
Wanted
Right.
to
yeah.
bite, it
Yeah.
could have taken part of the child's face off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I did, we spent an hour of evaluations. We did everything in a safe way so that if anything did go wrong, we could, stop and keep everybody safe and everything. This dog was a mush. He was really a great dog. And so they ended up hiring me for, I think, 4 or 5 sessions, and I came over and worked directly with the kids. And taught them different things about working with him. They introduced some commands, but then we also talked about things like don't wake up a sleeping dog. And then with mom and dad, we did some management stuff like have a place where the dog can go.
Safe zone.
Safe zone.
Exactly, where the kids cannot get to. And you guys are the ones who are responsible to make sure that, we latch the door so that the
Right.
kids can't go in there when he goes in there. And I'm telling you, this lady, I was so impressed with this family, first of all, because most people would have just immediately put the dog down. He's an aggressive dog. But she ended up, they followed through with all of the suggestions that we talked about in our sessions. And for years, this lady would occasionally send me an email to just thank you so much for coming in and helping us. We love, his name was Ringo. We love Ringo so much. He's such a great member of our family, and we're just really thankful. And I just always shot it right back to her. I'm thankful for people who, she knew in her gut that this dog was not aggressive. She knew that this was a fluke thing where the kid launched itself on the dog and it startled him, and he didn't necessarily want to bite her, but it was a startled
Well, it
reaction.
sounds like he didn't even bite her.
No,
kinda just
it
turned
was
his
more of
head.
a graze.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she required 2 stitches next to her eye. And the kid loved the dog. So even
Right.
when I was there, when I first arrived, I had a cringe because I remember vividly when I got there, I walked in the house and this kid comes running down the hallway and like launches herself and hugs the dog. And I was like, oh my God. And he just stood there. And I was like, okay, that's a good sign.
Yes, very good sign.
Yes.
Is there two-part question?
Yes.
And Cheryl Falconberry says, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna run up and give you a big time hug next time I see you, Ashley." You're
She
doing
would
a
be
great
okay
job.
because I know her quite well.
So, two-part question. Big dogs versus little dogs. There is kind of a stigma or misconception out there that the bigger the dog, the more like lethargic and more teddy bear-like, or some little dogs could be potentially more aggressive. That's a misconception. Second part, there's the stigma, I guess, or idea out there that like a lab or a golden retriever is more mushy and teddy bear-like than say like a German shepherd from like a response with kids interacting with them. Throw that to you. You go anywhere you want.
I say that you're right on
Yeah.
your gut feelings on that. I think that you can't make any, generalizations.
Each dog is their own, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even
Just
even
like
within the
people.
same litter, they have different personalities,
Absolutely.
different likes and dislikes. And, I always cringe when people say, "Oh, my dog would never bite." You don't know that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because your dog may be very happy, your dog may be very socialized and very well trained and well adjusted, but I think anybody can get into a situation. You can put that dog into a situation where it might bite. Fear or, something where the dog is feeling very anxious about something. Any of those kinds of things can, or a very nice dog has a resource thing and there's a bone right here and you walk too close. So knowing your dog is key. Right back to, we've talked about that on just
Right.
about every show I've been on, is knowing your dog, knowing what their triggers are, and working with training, but then also doing management steps as well. So I don't think that there is any one breed. I mean, certain breeds have tendencies, kind of stereotypical type of things, but that doesn't mean that every lab you get is going to love to have your kid crawl all over it and give it
Right.
hugs and pull its ears and poke its eyes.
Once a dog has bit a human, is that dog more apt to bite a human again?
I think it has more of a propensity to, but you can absolutely, work with them to teach them. That particular dog never bit anybody ever again, to my knowledge. Like I said, she followed up with me for years later to tell me how great he was doing, and so he never bit anybody again. There are certain dogs that have a propensity to bite in certain situations, and so, knowing that sort of thing, I've worked with a number of people whose dogs have bitten them, and they wanted to work through it and figure out, okay, what was the trigger, and we worked to teaching the dog a different response, and making sure that everybody was safe. What's infinitely harder is when there is no trigger. Usually there is. Usually you can pinpoint it's food, it's stressed out over this or something. You can pinpoint what the cause is. But if you can't pinpoint the cause, that makes it harder. That's kind of like
And some situations, some dogs will give a warning growl, and others won't.
right.
Yeah.
And that's the little tricky thing.
Yes.
Both the dog
And-
bites I've been a part of, no warning ground.
Yeah.
But certainly human error for both times.
Yeah.
One of them was child, and this was not my child. Still, it's maybe even worse when it's someone else's child. Child picking up a dog food bowl while the dog was eating. Mom's turned her back, didn't see what was going on. And then the second one was, unfortunately, my dog, Leo, who's a teddy bear, but we're out on a walk around the neighborhood, and a jogger's running right at us. And the jogger left like no room for the
Space.
Holy Spirit, and
Yeah.
like literally was like, and Leo felt threatened.
Yeah.
And but what I should have done was just like grabbed him and like taken him off the path.
Right,
But I
right,
didn't do
right.
that because I assumed the jogger was gonna
Gonna
like
go around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like who runs out a 100-pound German
Yeah.
Shepherd?
Right.
And then he got bit in the butt.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, animal control's at your house.
Yeah.
And that's not
It's
good.
never fun.
Was
No.
Leo quarantined?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was put on quarantine.
Yeah.
He couldn't leave the
Yeah.
house for like
Yeah.
X amount of
10
time.
days usually, yeah.
It was not fun.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it isn't.
And it's one of those things where you look back and think, I could have done this, I could have done that.
I should
but-
have just taken him off, but I assumed the dude was gonna it was just bad. It was my fault. It's my fault. Yeah. Live and learn.
That's a fact.
That's
you have
true.
to. You have
Live
to.
and
You
learn.
can't beat yourself up over stuff either. And it sounds like Leo is doing great, and it
He's
was a
doing
learning
better.
experience.
He's doing hip check. My
But
son
I mean,
and-
it's now something that you know.
Body
I'm not
slam.
going to take him and put him in that environment
no.
again.
Yeah.
Right. You hear that, Mrs. Miller? She's watching right now.
He's learned.
He's learned.
Yes, you do.
We have
You
3
live-
more to go, Ashley. This
Yes.
has been a great show, Ashley. You're good at your job.
Thank you. So we're going to number 9. We're going to, again, this one is not
It's
a
not- really
super
wasn't too
stressed
bad, I didn't
dog,
think.
but there's
Yeah.
a lip lick going. But
Yeah.
I think probably, and this is complete conjecture. I have no
Yeah.
idea who these people or dogs are, but it looks like this is probably a family dog who has known this
Yeah.
girl maybe its whole life, her whole life, and it's not loving this, but it's not super stressed
Right.
out about it. Number 10, the pug. I don't think the pug looks really stressed,
No.
but it's something where you don't necessarily want this baby to crawl up behind it and startle it. Because again, dogs are fast. I'm
they
sure
are.
when Leo bit that guy on the butt, it was
It's
Oh my
like
gosh.
boom.
quick.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it happened until he
Yeah.
kept running down the path and turned around and screamed, "Your dog just bit me." I didn't even see it happen.
Oh,
It was
wow.
that fast.
Yeah.
They're fast.
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of parents say,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, I'll just pull the kid back." You don't have time.
You don't have
You
time.
do not have time. So that's not a wise idea. But the dog doesn't look super stressed in any way. It looks actually kind of goofy and happy.
Yeah.
It's got, it looks nice and loose. That's what we talk about in body language. Loose is good because
Yeah.
just relaxed and free. It's got its mouth open. It's not lip licking. It's just mouth open, panting,
Yeah.
relaxed. Its face looks nice and relaxed. You don't see any whites of its eyes at all. It's just a happy, relaxed dog. So this is a nice, refreshing break from all the stressed dogs we've seen. Here's a pretty happy dog right here. And then number 11, again, I would not have my baby's face that close to, because this dog is not, we
crazy.
see no whites, we see no lip licking, but you can tell.
It's
Like
uncertain.
I think
Yeah.
anybody
Yeah.
who's
It's like,
not even a
what's-
dog person
Right.
can tell this. I mean, it's putting space
Pace.
between
Right.
itself and the baby, and it's kind of like, I don't know what to do with
If
this.
like you were a human, you wouldn't want that to
Yeah.
happen.
Right, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So
This is good, Ashley. I really like the photos.
Yeah.
that was
It's a
Mary.
good way of
Mary
seeing
gets all the
it.
credit for
Yeah.
the photos.
Smart call.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Thank you. And I think it's, again, one of those things where I just want to call attention to it, where people tend to assume that naturally they're going to have a kid and their dog is just going to love it, which sometimes does happen. But I think it's foolish to think that it's not going to require some diligence
So much work.
and some work on the parent's part to understand your dog's body language and start to teach your kid as they get older, doing age appropriate stuff with your kid and letting them know, not just taking the kid away, but saying, "Oh, look, his ears went back and he licked his lips. He's feeling a little nervous. Let's walk
Right.
away for a minute. Let's give
Right.
him a little space."
Yeah.
And then even put it into like a learning experience, like, sometimes at school, if somebody does, whatever, does it make you feel stressed? Don't you want kind of a little bit of space for yourself? Putting it in terms that the kid can understand so that they know it's not just a dog is a dog, but a dog is a being who thinks and feels, and we have to be able to learn how to respect them as well.
I love it. You crushed it. This was excellent. I
Thanks.
love the pictures and the play-by-play and the analysis. This was great. You made this almost like a sporting event. Seriously.
It kind of
this
is
was
a
so
sporting
good.
It can be, yeah.
Exactly.
What are you thinking, Mary? This is
Well, coming from the perspective of the groups who are out there placing dogs, and on our application, almost all of the families or folks with children, or even some without children, one of the characteristics they're looking for is a dog that's good around children. And we start to get a little bit nervous because we would really hope that family has a child, if they do, that is respectful of the dogs. So it's as you're saying, it goes both ways. And yes, I agree, you should be looking for a dog that's good with children, and we want a family with children who's good around dogs. So it's not an easy placement, in my opinion.
I agree.
And we tend to err on the side of best judgment and won't always place an animal that we've not had any issues with if we don't feel the parents have a handle
Right.
on the situation when they
Right.
come out.
And may I say something along those lines?
yeah.
I have had times in my career where I've gone into a home to do a private training session, and it's bedlam as I walk in the door, and I think to myself immediately, there's no help.
Yeah.
There's no hope in getting this dog under control because none of the kids are controlled.
Yeah.
I mean, they're running around crazy, and so there's no boundaries, there's no guidelines, anything goes. So how are we supposed to teach the dog behavior when the kids are just running amok?
Yeah.
Well, and from some really tough firsthand perspective, especially with your first one, having a child is hard enough,
Yes.
especially in the beginning, and if
Exactly.
it's your first one. And my wife is doing most of the work, and I'm telling you right now, she's a superhero.
She's
From
awesome.
a firsthand perspective, I mean, you probably don't want to get a dog when you have an under 2-year-old, and it's your first kid.
And
I mean,
and
don't
it
do
is.
it.
It's exactly.
It makes
And
no
it's-
sense.
And people say that they want a dog,
they want
a
the
puppy,
Hollywood
to
ending.
grow up
Yeah.
with the
Right,
child.
right.
Well, this
You're
isn't
just doubling
Lassie,
your work.
you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Wait till they're like
quadrupling.
10
yeah,
or 8.
exactly.
When the kid can help with the dog
Right.
and really know and
Right.
understand how to interact with the dog. And I have to tell myself, I went into one of these things, and the kid runs across the room. Like, I walk into the door, the kid runs across the room and has this big, like, plastic machine gun in his hand.
Oh, God.
And it hits the dog over the back as it looks at me and says, "Fido bites me." And it was one of those things where I didn't even think.
I bet he does.
My knee-jerk reaction was, I would bite you too.
Yeah, you're hitting me with the plastic gun.
Yeah, and like wham, right over the back. And I was like,
Jeez.
wow. And this was a larger dog. So if this dog had actually bitten him, he would have done a lot of damage. This
Right.
dog was like biting him to like, leave me alone.
Leave me
It was
alone.
more of a mouthing thing. But this dog could have done some serious damage.
Yeah.
Great show.
Thank you.
You crushed it. The show is archived on caringforcreatures.org. We will also put it on ilovecville.com. Kelly Bickers-Shepard says, hi, Ash.
Hi there, Kel.
She's giving you some props right now.
She's got a wonderful little beagle named Libby.
Erica Renee is watching from Green
Oh,
Dogs.
yeah, yeah.
Hey, Erica.
Unleash. Watch this show. Share this show with a family that needs some help. Contact Ashleigh if you need some help at home. I'm wondering if she's going to contact Laura.
She may be getting, Lauren might be calling.
I think that's what she's thinking. Good job, Ashleigh. You're awesome. We'll turn it into a podcast on iTunes, guys. We'll put it on caringforcreatures.org. Donate to Caring for Creatures. Support them. 30 years and counting in Central Virginia. Central Virginia's first no-kill animal sanctuary in Fluvanna County, saving the lives of the most at-risk animals and giving them a shot at a second, third, and fourth shot at life, guys. Mary Birkholz, Ashleigh Morris, Jerry Miller, Caring for Creatures show, Thursdays at 3. Have a good afternoon. Good job, Ashleigh.
Thank you. Thank you. I
We
appreciate
say that after each one.
You're
She
very-
just keeps getting
You're
better.
very good at this.
I'm not going to lie to you. I think, oh God, Erica's watching because she's another trainer.
She
It's
is,
like,
yeah.
is she critiquing what I'm saying?